Oh, hey. How have you been? I've been okay. Thanks for asking. This is Eve, the host of Everyone's Doing Better Than Me. Sorry that we were on kind of a pause for a little bit. Catherine and I, we realized that we can't really coordinate our schedules anymore now that life is kind of resumed again. So it's just going to be me from now on hosting, which is how it started. So here we go into this week's episode with Peter Jones, my good friend, a comedian from Australia, writer on a TV show, which I kind of forgot to mention during the episode. He writes for the Australian TV show The Project, which is huge in Australia. He has gone viral on TikTok. He's a great comedian. He's a good friend. So here we go, me and Peter Jones. I'm excited to talk to you because the last time I saw you, we didn't know it was going to be the last time.
Yeah, when would that have been? When did you leave?
I decided to leave March 12th or 13th, whatever that Friday was.
Yeah.
And I don't think I saw you again.
No.
And I had only done that week. I'd only done one gig because I know what it was because my last gig was that Tuesday at Lucky Cock. And it was the worst. It was one where I said on stage, I was hosting, and I said to the guy, I was like, I feel like you're going to try to rape me. But that guy was so creepy that like other comics had to be like, is this cool? Because he was so weird. And then that was my last gig until, last couple months ago.
Yeah, shit. And Lucky Cock hasn't come back since then.
Really? That's a shock.
Still going.
The people of Paran were like, oh man, we loved supporting that room that we hated. Because I think that people came specifically to hate the comedy, right?
I mean, I think there were people there who genuinely enjoyed it. I feel like there could be true. Some of it could be good, like you'd get your bad act, but you'd also get some one person having a good set, and the people who came were like, that one person's good. And we get to see these other people have a bad time, and that's pretty funny.
This already highlights the difference between us is that you are so positive. But you're like, yeah, but some people liked it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I guess some people like comedy. Well, look, okay, I'm gonna do the thing I never was good at doing. I'm going to actually introduce you right up top. I'm going to get right into it. Because I'm so bad at this, right? So you're my guest today. This is my first one doing this back again without Catherine. So I'm a solo flyer, right? For the first time in like a year. Not a year, but whatever. My friend, Peter Jones, Australian, I wrote down stuff. Comedian, writer, podcaster, sometimes actor, and viral TikTok, Instagram sensation. Not even a star, just a sensation. I mean, I don't even know. Once lockdown ends, you're gonna have a hard time going out of the house and stuff, I think.
Yeah, it's been pretty tough at the moment. You can't get out of this. Even with the mask on, people are still just spotting me at the supermarket.
Peter Jones! Peter Jones!
Oh my God.
A bag of rice! Isn't that like so niche that I can like reference the joke in the TikTok video that went viral?
I mean, people who even liked that don't even remember that. You know what I mean?
Well, I always love that joke. And then I saw it go super viral on both Instagram and TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it went pretty good.
It was the worst Christmas gift you and your brother ever gave each other.
Yeah.
And it's worth seeing. Like, I mean, it's worth watching. I didn't just give it away, really.
Even if you know how it ends, it's worth a rewatch, Like, it's one of those, it's an exciting journey.
Well, I've watched it, like, so many times. I love that bit. Of course. But, yeah, I just, anyway, I feel like once people can, like niche reference my TikTok videos that are also, like, some of my favorite jokes, then I'll know I've made it, maybe. Right? You've made it, haven't you?
Oh yeah, if this is what making it is,
yeah, it's everything you hope. This is what
making it feels like. It's like, yeah, it feels like nothing. It feels like nothing.
Well, I'm so glad that we're already getting into the demystification of fame, because everybody wants to know, what does it feel like, and you're here to say having millions of views on the internet feels like not having millions of views on the internet. It feels the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, the difference between a video getting 40 views and a video getting 5 million views is nothing.
Is that true? Like, do you really feel like nothing?
It's fun watching the numbers tick up and just having this, but like opening up either TikTok or Instagram and having constant, like you check it and it's just like constant likes. It's just like, it doesn't feel like it's like, oh, cool. But it doesn't feel like anything.
That's true. I had like my one clip. I stopped posting. I don't know. I'm trying to find myself right now. But, right now, I never was.
You're in the process of a rebrand. I understand.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to come through this and I'm going to be like a horny Jewish woman, but I'm going to also be taking ADHD medication because I'm like, well, that's my difference. I just got that's a really weird way to bring that up, that I just got diagnosed with ADHD. But I was like, what's changed? That doesn't shock you at all, does it?
No. I feel like whatever it was you said you got diagnosed with, I wouldn't have been shocked by the results. It's just like, I've been diagnosed with it. It's like, oh, that's crazy. That's what it is.
I mean, what if I was like cancer? You're like, we knew. We all knew.
That explains so much.
But the ADHD thing, I forget who I told. I told my friend Benji.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever met. Did you meet Benji Rothman?
You
did?
Yes, I would have. Yes.
Yeah. So, and I told him, and he's very focused and like, can just do work and like just has like a really kind of businessy approach to comedy and, writing and also gigging. And I told him and he was like, yeah, you have ADHD. I was like, what? like he just knew. He was like, yeah, of course you do. I'm like, oh, okay. Like I just thought I thought like my personality is like wild. I didn't know that like other people were like, Eve needs to be diagnosed.
Yeah, it's an actual condition, what you've got.
Yeah. Thanks, Pete. All right. I didn't. You're like, yeah, we have been tolerating this for so long.
So you on medication now?
Oh, well, my psychiatrist prescribed it, and then my pharmacy is like a janky local Brooklyn pharmacy, and they didn't have it, and they won't transfer the prescription because it's like so abused. So I have to wait till tomorrow to get it re-prescribed. But tomorrow at this time, I'm gonna be scrubbing the walls. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be vacuuming in my underwear, singing. Jamiroquai. I don't know what. Like I don't know what people do when they're focused. I don't know what people do when they.
I don't think listen to Jamiroquai is part of it. I don't know if that's part of the like.
I don't know why that came out of me. I think it's that I just have that video, Virtual Insanity. Where he's on that little like. Do you remember that? Like where he's wearing the big hat. It was and he's like on that kind of like walking. Escalator like at the airport.
Although,
and he's like,
to be honest, I couldn't. The Jamiroquai video where he's wearing the big hat. It's like, I think this has narrowed it down in my mind as to which Jamiroquai video this is. Yeah,
that's true. But I guess that's the only one of his videos I ever really watched. But for some reason, I picture me on medication with ADHD. In that video, I guess vacuuming. I don't know. I guess my my expectations might be a little bit off for what's to come. But okay. Before I even get into you and like all the reasons that you're here, do you even know what the podcast is?
I couldn't tell you the description of it.
Yeah, you're like, but I know who the host is. So it's called Everyone's Doing Better Than Me, right? And it is a podcast basically where I like get my friends on who are kind of more successful than me in certain areas, right? Like, because some people on have been like dominatrixes, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's the category you're in, but and I try to like steal their power in some way. Not steal it. Like, I don't want you to have less. I just want to know your secrets.
Yeah.
How you got to be like this. So I will get into that in a minute, like how like the things that I I'm kind of jealous of in you. But first, I like to do this thing called like just where basically it's like an airing of a gripe at the beginning, right? I mean, we've been friends for like...
I was going to say, this could be any conversation that I've had with you, It didn't have to be recorded. It's like
I mean, I guess
it includes an airing of a gripe. It's like, yeah, this sounds right. This is.
Oh, it's Eve. Hey, how are you?
Okay. This will be 45 minutes of a gripe.
Oh, totally. But I should contextualize this. Like, we're friends from the Melbourne Australian comedy scene.
Yes.
You were one of the first people I became friends with, I think. I mean, I remember when we became friends, and I don't think you like this story, but it wasn't, you didn't do anything bad, but it's like, I'll never, as my ego, I just can't forget things. I can let them go, but I can't forget them. Can I say? Is it
yeah, of
is
course.
it right? But, so it was basically, we knew each other. I felt very, when you're new to like any scene, and like other people have a group or a clique or whatever, and then you're like, I was like not only new to the scene, but I was new to comedy. And you may or may not know this about me, that I have a bit of an ego. And like, it really was like killing me that I knew I was funny, but I like wasn't funny on stage. You know what I mean? And when you're not funny on stage, as you know, when someone's new to comedy, no one gives a shit about you. Right. And so then not only that, but I was like American in Australia, where like people are pretty, like, I feel like in Australia, people are not super open and welcoming. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, I think that's fairly true, especially towards Americans.
All right. And so I was like, I thought I was like killing. I probably wasn't, I thought I was like, and then I would like be on an open mic, and I don't know if you were booking them or just your friends, and like it was like Murphy, or I don't remember who else, like Simon Cumming.
Yep.
And I would think that I killed, but then the next week I wouldn't be on, like all this stuff. And I was like, these motherfuckers, and like, I just had this whole thing in my head about like this crew of people that included you. And then, as I got, like, basically Raw Comedy came, and it was like the first time I worked hard on a set to actually try to get through. And I got to the state final, and it was so much fun. And like, it was the first time I was like, oh, this is how comedy works. You like really work on a bit, and, or several bits, and then that becomes good. Like I had no idea. And you and I didn't get to the national final, but you and I were talking during the comedy festival in the festival club, and you were like, yeah, I saw you at, like, we had been like friendly, but you were like, yeah, I saw you at Raw Comedy. And before that, at the state final, you're like, before that, I just really didn't know you were funny. And like, that's when, and I think it's like the same way that like if a guy says something to kind of neg me, like from then on, I'll like want to marry him. Like that, from then I was like, oh, I'm going to be friends with Pete, and I'm going to ruin his life, and that's how we became friends. Yeah. Do you have anything to add about that?
Our friendship, the origins of our friendship, haven't stuck around as much in my mind.
Oh, all right. Well, one of us cares. I see. One of us has been reaching out to keep in touch during COVID. The other one forgets. Just lives his life, I
mean, I remember that. I think I do remember that festival. I remember talking to you at that festival. I do remember seeing you do that, have a Raw set where you did do really well. And previously at an open mic, Comedy at the Wild, great gig.
Oh, God. You'd see me, die or something?
I mean, just do long. It's mostly my memory.
No, you must be confusing me with someone else. I don't think I've ever done long. And done long meaning that when someone lights you and your time is up, you don't get off the stage.
Yes. Because there's more important things that you need to say,
Right. More important than the audience like living their lives or the other comics getting on. I just don't think I would ever do that. I think that you must be.
Maybe it was somebody else.
Gaslighting me.
Maybe it's a different American.
Yeah, it must have been another American Jew. I don't know. It's like I'm not even that talkative. It is wild to me now when I think back, especially being in New York now and not being new and knowing that like whatever I'm going to say at an open mic, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like if I don't. So now it's like when I see the light, I respect the light. I never go long.
Yeah.
I just never go long anymore. And I see these younger comics going long, and I'm like, you're a sociopath. You're, and I was, I think, infamous for going long.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, at least in my mind, you were.
Yours and a couple other people. There might be a few people who like literally won't speak to me because like one person in particular, but I was going to say fuck him, but it's all right. Not fuck him. It's all right. I won't name him, but you know who it is. But yeah, so we became friends and then, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, it's weird. Friendship is such a weird thing in comedy, I think, because there's also a competitiveness that you probably don't seem to feel, but I have felt all the time with everybody. But at the same time, there's this like deep friendship where it's like you kind of witness each other go through all these things, and like, you know, we were in Edinburgh at the same time, and you put me on all these shows, and then I had pink eye and I had to cancel. But you like, I don't know, it's just like,
I forgot
right?
about you having pink eye.
Oh my God, that was so dramatic. It was so, I mean, it was so bad.
In Edinburgh, I think it was you had pink eye and we bumped into each other, or we were walking somewhere. We were just in the street, and you, because you'd previously have lived in Edinburgh, and we bumped into a man who had an eye patch and was trying to find a location, and it was a creepy looking dude with an eye patch with a map who was trying to find somewhere. And I was like, I don't know, sorry. Just trying to move on. And because you had lived in Edinburgh, you're like, look, I know this place. I know these parts. I think I know. I'm basically a local. And then we're just talking but like, I just remember it being like, just this guy with this creepy guy with an eye patch. It's just like, we could have been gone. We didn't need to talk to this. We didn't need to talk to this man.
No recollection. None. Zero. And was this during the day? Like, was I sober?
Yeah, this was during the daytime. Was
I right? Did I get him to the place, you think?
I can't even remember. I just remember being upset that we were spending any time talking to a man on the street who had an eye patch.
And meanwhile, I had pink eye. It's so funny because it's like, to me, I really love like weird people. And like in New York, I don't know, you just see fucking weird. I don't like it when I have to like deal with them too much, but I do enjoy like spending time with like fucking strange people a little bit. And I think that without even knowing it, if you were tense about it, I probably really loved the feeling. Do you know what I might not have known that you were upset, but I would have been like, something feels exciting. Like I would have been like, there's a cloud of like anger hanging around that I'm really getting into. You know what I mean? I don't know why. But yeah, I like sometimes like a little tense. I'll almost always engage with the person.
Yeah. I'm always happy to see like a weirdo with an eye patch and even have them ask for directions. Right. Because I'm like, that's great. But at this point, I'm done. I've got everything that I need from this. I don't need to to see this man ever again.
Right. Whereas I'm like, I wonder if he's single. You know, I'm like, I wonder. Yeah. Ooh.
Do you want to come to my show?
Yeah. What do you think of Jewish women? Do you like curves? You know? Well, okay. So we're friends. We've traveled the world together. We're obviously totally on the same page about our style of travel. And then I called you recently for advice, which I can get into later. But I don't know. There's like this, I think that there's certain people you make friends with in comedy. And like, I think you only realize later that like those are the people that you're going to know. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because you come up at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
So you're one of mine, Pete. You're one of my chief. You're one of my chief.
One of the people.
Chief friend rival. What'd you say?
One of the people.
Because I said friend rival because there's a little bit of rivalry, right? Or there was when the comedy existed. No.
Rivalry in what direction?
I don't know. It's not about. It wasn't rivalry about who was funnier. It wasn't about that. It was always like. I probably felt rivalry about like, I don't know. Now I'm already like, oh God, this is like, I'm already thinking it like about like things I would say usually like 45 minutes in, and it's not 45 minutes in. You know, like whether or not I feel seen, you know what I mean? Like whether or not this person thinks I'm funny. I think I projected a lot onto other people about like, I had a hard time writing anything new that wasn't just dirty. I still do, but I feel like my jokes now are a little bit, I'm trying to kind of branch out a little bit. It's still about totally dirty things, but I'm trying to take them in new directions. But I think I probably felt like other people thought, like, ugh, stop talking about your fucking pussy, you know? And I don't know. Did you think that about me, Pete? Were you like, God, I'm so sick of hearing about your pussy?
No, I don't think. I feel like my problem. Here's the airing of grievances. I feel like whenever it would simply be. It wouldn't be specifically, oh, I can't believe that she's talking about her pussy once more. It would be if it was like a brand new joke. If I was running the room, if I'd booked you for a show, the only grievance would ever be, or the grievance would be, oh, great, you're doing brand new material about your pussy, rather than the tried and true material about it.
That's so funny, because I probably would have done the new material thinking, everybody's so sick of hearing about your fucking pussy. Do new pussy material, you know, and they'll be like, in my head, I'm sure that I was like, I have to do this or else Pete is going to be so, you know, or whoever I know is going to be like, oh my God, stop doing this joke. Like, I'm so sick of this joke. Do you know what I mean? So I probably projected that. And then as a result, didn't do your favorites, you know. Your favorite pussy jokes, your favorite, why have I found paper in my pussy again? The hits, you know, the dirty dick joke, the dicks on the vision board joke, anyway, I'm like, God, what a nightmare. Well, okay, speaking of grievances, okay, so we can go back now that I've contextualized all of this. So basically it's like, what is a trivial thing that's hurt you recently? I'll tell you what happened to me today as an example. I work in a restaurant now, and I went to the bathroom today, and this happens to me all the time. Like, it happens to me probably every 2 days. And I think I'm too trusting, because I will look at the toilet seat and I'll go, it looks fine. And then I'll sit on it and it's covered in someone's piss. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've sat in so many, I think, women's piss so many times. And so today I've finished my shift. I was like, I'm going to go pee. I'm going to go eat a meal. And then I sat on the toilet seat without wiping it off first. And I got pee on me. And then I was like, really? And I was like, and I looked in the mirror before I pulled my pants up. And I'm like, and then I was like, I can't do this. And I just pulled my pants up. And then I was like, now I have pee on my legs and in my jeans. Do you know what I mean? Like someone else's urine. That upset me.
Why didn't you wipe the seat beforehand?
Because I'm too trusting. That's what I'm saying. Because I didn't see anything. I do like the angles. Because the internet was a little unstable when I was explaining that. I don't know if you could, like, yeah, I look, usually, like, I'll do it, but then I'm like, I don't need to do it every time. There's not always piss on the seat, but every time I don't do it, there's piss on the seat. And it's just, I feel like I've been hurt so many times, and yet I can't get it together. I don't know. I keep hoping that maybe people don't pee on the toilet seat.
Because when it comes to this particular situation of having to sit on a toilet that is not my own, I'll always wipe it down first, and then create an entire layer of toilet paper on top of the seat.
Really?
Always.
You don't sit on the seat?
No, never.
Wow.
Never.
And Australia is a much cleaner place than New York City.
I imagine so.
At some point I gave up. I used to do that, and then I was like, I think it was like when I was squat shitting in India. I was like, I don't think I get to put toilet paper on the seat anymore. I think I just, have to accept that sometimes.
I'm just hovering over a hole. That's all I'm doing now.
I mean, yes, and not very far. Do you know what I mean? Like, the hole is shallow and I am not far above it. Like, it's yeah. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. When I came back from India, nothing fazed me anymore. But now I've gotten over that, and I'm bummed out that I sat in someone's piss today.
Well, just go back to your old ways. Either hover over it.
That's true. Okay.
Or go back to wiping it down.
Paper.
Yeah. Because, like, fuck the environment, you're not wasting paper. Who cares?
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, I think I'm more likely to hover because the wiping it down thing for me, and maybe this will change when I start taking that medication, but for me, it's just one step too many. I'm like, ugh, I have to pee. I don't want to make a whole like circle or a U with paper, you know what I mean? And then it always falls in, or it gets like a little bit wet somehow, and then it's like spread it, and it's just so gross. I think the hover, I have to work on my core strength again.
For me, if I could find more things to put between me and the toilet seat, I would.
Yeah, what would you sit on?
I mean, if there was like, if I could get napkins in there, like if I could just create like a soft cushion on top of it.
I was thinking about like cement blocks, but no, you mean like a soft.
Yeah, it's got to be continued. It's got to be soft, but like anything in between, anything more that I can put in between me and the seat. I don't even care if those things have more germs on them than the actual seat, because it doesn't even.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter to me. The thing that matters
it's a comfort thing.
Well, I mean, no, it's just the idea that the seat does. That's the only thing. It's like in
the
my
idea
mind,
that what?
this seat has germs on it. That's my mind. And it doesn't matter if everything else that I'm doing to replace it has even more germs, because in my mind they don't. So it doesn't matter.
Wow. That's a good system. Yeah. That'll be great for like parenting, or whatever. It's like, yeah, this breast milk might be contaminated, but it also probably isn't in my mind.
In my mind it's not, so it's fine.
I think for me, I couldn't sit on soft things while going to the bathroom. I was thinking that when you were saying that. I'm like, I couldn't sit on soft things. There needs to be some kind of... Mm-hmm.
You can't sit on soft... What do you mean? Like, you can't...
I even hate the toilet seats that have the little, like, cushy thing. I don't like sitting on soft things while I go to the bathroom. It's so weird to me, Maybe it's my animalism, but I just need to be in a little bit of, like, harsh discomfort, Like a cave person on a rock, To
encourage you to leave eventually.
I don't know, to remind me that nothing is perfect. So what's your gripe? Do you have any gripes recently?
What have I got as gripes?
Anybody cut you off? I mean, you are in lockdown, so that's like
currently in lockdown. When I was in lockdown.
When you mean last time?
Oh, I mean, one of the last three. So... So currently the entire state of Victoria is currently we're currently in lockdown. And
is this number 6?
This is number 6 for the state.
Yeah. And I only know from the memes. I don't. Yeah.
And so we were out for a week. Last week we were out, and then the week before that we were back inside because we were in a lockdown number 5. Was only 2 weeks ago.
Oh my god! And you guys thought that that this was a Sydney problem for now, right? You didn't think this was a Victoria problem.
Yeah, well, I think we thought before lockdown number 5 that it was simply a Sydney problem. And then lockdown number 5 was like, well, God damn it, Sydney. You've put us in lockdown number 5. And then we're like, but we're pretty good. So we're out of it again for an entire week. And now we're back in it again. But before that, before lockdown number 5, I was in quarantine for 2 weeks because I'd been in Sydney.
Oh, yeah.
And I came back from Sydney and then had to quarantine at home for 2 weeks. And what's the travel system in America? Can you just travel state to state and who gives a shit?
Yeah, there's absolutely no travel. There's nothing. I mean, I took a cross-country road trip in November and... Nothing. There's nothing because there's no borders on states here. I mean, there are actual borders, but we don't have like, oh, close this road at this whatever. Like there are streets that are in 2 states. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, people have guns. You can't make rules for people who have guns. You can't be like, no, go home, because eventually they'll be like, no. So we're just an open kind of, we're like a soup, like a cesspool of COVID.
What are the current case numbers do you know the current case numbers in New York?
Not New York. I know that nationally yesterday we had 100,000 cases. We went from having like a few thousand, like so few that I was like, why are they even still like posting this in the newspaper, to being like 100,000 a day. But so far the No, so far the deaths are low. We'll know more in like 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, because it's mostly people who are not vaccinated who are dying.
Yes.
100,000
is so funny to be.
I know. It's so crazy that it's like, lol, America, you're so crazy.
But it's so
crazy.
funny to be like, you guys can travel to any state at any point, no matter what. And you're like, it was like, yeah, it's pretty bad at the moment. We have 100,000. And here we are losing our minds. And today it was 11 cases.
In Victoria.
Yeah. And when
11 cases.
I was in Sydney, and Sydney had cases, and I flew back from Sydney to Melbourne, and I'd not been in a place where there had been any case. I hadn't been to one of the hotspots. There were like, the day that I flew back, there'd been 27 cases in Sydney, and then I got back to Victoria. I got met with people full the PPE at the airport.
No.
Yeah, of course. Everybody, you have to have a form to fly into Victoria. You had to get a permit to be able to enter the state to say, like, I am Victorian. That's why I'm returning to Victoria. And the PPE, they meet every single person, go through your permit, and then they go, all right, well, you've got to go quarantine at home, separate from your family, in your own separate part of the house, and you can't leave the house for 14 days because you...
Not even for a walk. You can't go for a walk.
No. It was just like walking around my backyard, just like in circles in the backyard was the only exercise that I could do.
While you're pulling out your beard hairs one by one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because I'd come from a place where I hadn't been to any location that had any cases, but I'd been in a city of 5 million that had had 27 cases that day.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys are just like, who gives a fuck?
Dude, COVID. So in New York, I know the numbers have gone way up again, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's like an open... People come to New York from all over right now. I know people coming from the South, whatever, and you're like, okay, you know, like, and in the South, it's like where it's... In Florida, it's like rampant right now because people don't want to get vaccinated. They don't want to wear masks. But also, I work in a restaurant bar, and I work indoors, and we don't wear masks. I mean, I am vaccinated.
Yeah.
And the customers inside are not wearing masks. I mean, some people come in to use the bathroom. Like there's a huge outdoor sitting area. So people sit outside, and those people might come in with their mask on to use the bathroom. But I know I've been around COVID. Like it's like, it's statistically, I mean, it's impossible not to be. Like, it's just, I've been there with like thousands of people in the past. And I've been working for like 2 months or something. And I'm okay for now. I just heard that my vaccine, which has been the best so far, Moderna, that apparently, sorry to brag, Moderna, but that apparently that I'm going to need a booster at some point, which is like, I guess to be expected. But I don't know. My feeling is in the US, I'm like, I've done all I can do. I wear a mask on the subway, like you have to, but also I would regardless, because some people have to take the subway. It's like a public... like with public transportation, they need to take it to work, but some of those people can't get vaccinated or they're immunocompromised. Yeah. So I'm like, of course I'm going to wear a mask for them. But at work, I'm like, you don't have to come to a fucking restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to wear my, if you're going to sit inside, like I'm, whatever, we're all in the same boat. In a month, New York is going to start requiring, we're going to have to check people's vaccine cards when they come into the restaurant. But I don't know. I'm a little bit cynical about it now. I'm like, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah. I imagine that's how the entire country is. But it's like, because even when I was in that 14 days, this is where my gripe comes in. Isn't just that.
Oh, right. So we haven't gotten to the gripe.
We haven't even got to the gripe yet. It wasn't even that I had to do the quarantine for 14 days. That was, I mean, like, fine. You're doing the right thing. And I got my test on you have to get multiple tests while you're in there as well. You go in, you get tested. And when I got tested on day 13, the doctor who was doing it, she said to me, she's like, well, we hope this is negative. And if it is negative, you've obviously wasted your entire time.
She said that?
Yeah, she said that. She's like, your city thanks you, but like this would obviously be a waste of your time. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. But then day 14, I got visited.
That's still not the gripe. Okay.
I got visited.
That'd be my gripe. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a knock on the door from, I got visited by a member of the health department and a member of the army came round to, yeah, guy in camouflage and a woman from the health department to come round, and they gave me a pamphlet about what to do to help protect yourself against COVID, including like a pamphlet that includes wash your hands. It's like, when did you print this?
Yeah. Oh man, the wash your hand thing. So, yeah, it gets to me, but okay, I'll come back to that. Yeah. Yeah.
So then they said in that door visit to check that I was doing it properly, that I was there on day 14 of my 2 weeks.
On day 14?
Yeah. They said that you're not allowed to leave until you get clearance. And they said the clearance can come in the form of like either a visit from one of us or a text message or a phone call or a letter in the mail. And it's just like, I'm waiting around for the postal service to be able to leave my house after after the 2 week period is up. And it was the gripe is that this information wasn't anywhere. It was just like, if I hadn't been visited by the army to tell me this information, it's just like, you can just be out and about. Like, I know somebody else who was also in the same situation, and they didn't get a visit, and they didn't get told that, and then got a phone call to say, hey, where are you? We were at your house. And they're like, well,
no.
We the 14 days is up. It's like, well, you didn't get clearance. It's like, what are you talking about?
Well, I guess like even talking to you, because I've watched Australia, right, throughout this. At times I was jealous, of course, because you guys didn't have to deal with it in the same way that it was going on here. And then now I'm like, I'm not jealous. You know, and actually, like, it made me understand a little bit like better about jealousy, because you're like, because here it was like everything was so like locked down in March. I was like, or maybe it was February or January, but just winter, everything's fucking shut. Like my family wouldn't see me because I was in the city and they're in the suburbs, and they were so worried about getting COVID that even though I was being really safe, they were like, we just don't know. I'm like, my own fucking family. And I was like, well, then what am I being? I mean, of course I'd be careful, but I was like, I have to date, because if I don't see, literally the only person I would see the whole week who like I would talk to was a random guy on Tinder. No wonder I like made out with so many fucking duds, you know. But I would give it, this year has been the year of the dud. Like I have like I've never had so much male attention as I have at the moment, from just a sea of duds, you know, just a sea of like, you know, probably in 5 to 10 might be okay, or might be accused of a crime. You know, like some of them, it's like it could go either way. But I'm just like, it's just duds everywhere. But yeah, so I was like seeing people I was like dating people in like earlier this year, and I was like looking at Australia and being like, being like, fuck them, they don't fucking know anything, like just so bitter. That because I, you know, of course I would compare myself because I had lived there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and I see all my friends like posting about comedy festival, and they're selling out their shows, and it's great. And I was like, do you even know that COVID exists? You know, like, do you know what we're all going through? And I was thinking, like, we're all going through this like development, this like rigorous boot camp life that you guys aren't going to know a thing about. And, you know, just getting really crazy in my head, because like I literally didn't see anybody, like, except for, you know, a guy from Finland, you know, like, I mean, just like random fucking men from the internet. And then now I look at what you guys are going through, and I'm like, you can't be jealous of anybody. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's so fleeting, and you don't know, you know?
Precisely.
I mean, happen.
Like, I mean, obviously I'd rather our country be in the position we've been in for the last than where you guys have been.
Because you get,
you know, what
because you guys haven't all died.
A lot of us surviving it. And
yeah. But are you thriving, Pete? Are you thriving like the American economy? You know, because we just sent people to space, you know, with nothing more than money, just a ship made of just money. And do you guys have that?
Well, we have to be content to know that we'll never send anybody to space. And even if we did, imagine the tall poppy syndrome to be able to cut down the sorts of folks who would even dare to dream of space in this country.
That is so funny. Yeah, I mean, and that like I can't. It's still so true that I can't even laugh yet. Do you know what I mean? Because tall poppy syndrome in Australia, I have like PTSD about tall poppy syndrome in Australia. People here say nice things to me, and I go, "Are you fucking with me?" Like I can't. Like I just am like, I'm like, why are you? Oh, I look nice. do I look like shit? Like, what do you say? What do you mean? You know? And they're like, no, I just like your hair. I'm like, oh, really? Why? Because it's like a rat's nest? What do you mean? You know? And they're just like, it's really long. And, you know, comics are so nice here. Do you know that?
Are they actually?
Yeah, it's wild. I was talking to this comic who I do like, and he was saying, he's like, you know, I don't know what the fuck has happened. Everybody's so nice now. I think we should bring back bullying in comedy. And I'm like, yeah, I could do with a little more bullying, you know? But you come off stage and people go, hey man, I really love that joke. I loved your whole set. I really love the bit about this. And they like listen and they'll take a photo of you and they'll post it and they'll say you're crushing and they'll like mean it. I mean, you know, you might not be crushing, but they'll like, they like want you to do well. And I'm like, I can't thrive here, you know. I can't. I don't know what to do with you. But I mean, it is actually kind of. I mean, you know, and of course, there's people who are dicks, but not. I mean, it's not really like Australia. Like Australia, it's like it is just merciless bullying, and that's how you know you're doing okay. Like, if people aren't nice to you, you're like, am I like retarded? Like, what's going on? I feel bad for even saying that, but that's like so. Do you know what I mean? Like nobody's like really nice to anyone unless they're really famous. If you're famous, then people they'll like your asshole.
Yes.
But, right? Do you agree with? Yeah.
I mean, of course. Yeah. If they think that they'll be nice to you, or you will be nice to somebody in Australia, it's like if you're in comedy, you will be nice to people that you think are of higher status of you. Right. Or if they are like brand new, but if everybody else is just like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, yeah. And if they're brand new, you might be like nice to them on their first night. You know what I mean? But if they're like a month in, you're like,
oh yeah, no, I mean like brand new,
so
like
annoying.
First 3 gigs new.
Yes, exactly.
Or if you already know them, if you're already friends with them,
right,
you'll be nice to them.
But if they've just started and they say something like, when am I going to get on a show? You know, like something that you think, not you, but one thinks is like ahead of themselves. You'll be like, oh, what, you think you're owed a gig? Oh, you think you're like owed? The audience just should laugh at you. Maybe you should just work. You know, I mean, you get like so bitter so fast. And I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not like that. Like I don't know if I became Australian or if that part of me really flourished in Australia. Yeah. The part that was like, you know, oh, who the fuck do you get? I worked and then, but I never was like that until I went there and then I just got mean.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't get ahead of yourself sort of a mentality. I remember I got a message. This is when I ran The Wild. I remember getting a message from somebody who was complaining that they got on so late, or they didn't get. I had to wait around until like 11 to get on stage, and they said, "I've got to." It wasn't you somehow, but it was some new person who stopped. But their complaint was like, "I've got work in the morning," and I just replied with, I just sent them back. I'm like, "We've all got work in the morning."
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
It's true.
Who cares?
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you have a job? That's so funny because the rest of us open mic comics, we just, you know, we make money off of our comedy. It's like, no, we're all really bad or whatever, or not, but we all have a fucking job, you know? Yeah. I mean, you know, it's interesting here. No one really gets paid until they're like, I don't know, 10, 5, 8 years, like years and years in. It's funny. I remember, I don't remember who it was, and I'm glad I don't remember who it was in Melbourne who was like telling me almost like, I remember also reading this in like the Melbourne Comedy Rooms Hub, like that Facebook group, people like almost wanting to like unionize to be paid, but like 6 months into comedy. And I'm like, why? You should be paying people to watch you. Like, you're so bad, you should pay people. Like, nobody should be paying you. Why do you think you should get paid? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like being a virgin and having sex for like, you know, like a few times and being like, I think I know what I'm doing. You know, yeah. I think I can charge. It's like, I guess actually that doesn't really work because plenty of people would pay for that. But you know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean they'd be good, you know?
but for a different reason. Like, no one's going to be paying for it. It's like, oh, cool, you're a brand new open micer. Actually, yeah, I'd love to see you fuck it. Can we?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on dating, you know? Especially because they're so young. It's like, you got nothing. But all right, I realized, I was like, oh yeah, speaking of all this stuff, I'm like, I want to now do to you the thing that no one ever did for me in Australia, you know, which is tell you all the fucking things that I'm jealous of in you, right? Okay. And I was thinking about this before, and I was like, you know, I was walking home from work, and I'm like trying to like kind of put it in order. And, you know, it's pretty easy to think about. Like, it's funny. It's like, I'm already looking at you and I'm like, it's hard. As I look at you, I'm like, you and I don't do this. Like, we don't say, I mean, we've done it in moments, but we're like, don't ever tell anyone I said this to you. You know, we've never recorded it. I feel like if like a couple of years ago, if you'd asked me what would happen first with you and Pete, will you give him like really open compliments, or will you sleep together? I'd be like, probably sleep together. Like, even like,
I would have gone the opposite direction on that one.
I'm just saying it was not on the radar.
Okay,
you know what
right,
I mean?
right.
Like sex happens from alcohol. You know, like I'm saying, like of random things that could happen. Sorry, did I just? Are you gonna tweet about me?
No,
I
I'm
was
off
doing
Twitter.
a podcast. Right, you're off Twitter, or else you would.
Otherwise, I would have.
Yeah. I was doing this podcast and I just thought I was being taken seriously for my career. And then suddenly she hit on me. All right. I'm sorry. All right. Okay. I think what I'm most jealous of with you, because, like, you know, we've done a lot of the same gigs and stuff, you know, but the thing I'm most jealous of in you is, like, it has so much to do with your mentality around comedy. And from your mentality is like your habits, you know, or maybe the other way around. I don't know. But, like, you know, I'm anxious. You know, I'm insecure. Right? We've talked about this a couple times, right?
It's come up.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of hide it, you know, but you see through me, Pete. But you and I'm sure that you have stuff like that, right? You don't really wear it on your sleeve as much, but it's like you seem to deal with stuff not through like venting your feelings or having a panic attack or whatever. You just seem to be like have like habits, like good habits, where it's like, okay, well, I'm worried about this. I don't know if you're worried. I don't know but it's like you just work. Like you just sit down and you write. And then you're like, oh, I don't know, how's that going to go? And instead of getting caught in your head, you gig, you know, and you test it out. And then it's like, I don't know, you seem to have this like belief that seems so obvious, but is like really hard to invest in, I think, for me anyway, where it's like, if I just work hard, I will see results, right? But like, is this accurate so far?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all of that is accurate. The idea that even with whatever insecurities and anxieties I have around it, that the only solution is to work through it.
Right, and this to me makes you a sociopath, right? Because because I'm just like, how does one, especially in comedy, I mean, it's like the entire pharmaceutical industry exists really because there's a gap for most people between, like, you know, I want to do stand-up or I have anxiety about my, you know, future. Oh, I'll do work. Do you know what I mean? Like, most of us can't do that. You know what I mean? And so it's like, and I like, you give such good advice about this stuff that I know that people come to you for advice because people have quoted you without knowing that I know that you said that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was talking to somebody and I was admitting to them, this is our mutual friend, how I get jealous sometimes, right? Which, like, duh, that's like my whole podcast. And I was like, don't you get jealous? And he was like, no. Because if I see my friends doing well, and first of all, I don't believe that he doesn't get jealous, right? But like, I was like, I don't believe you. But he said, if I see my friends doing well, it like tells me that like there's a possibility that I could one day maybe do well too, because we kind of came up together. So, you know, and I'm thinking that's a fucking Peter Jones quote. Like, I know I know that came from, because you said that to me, and I know that when you said it to me, it came from you, because you don't quote other people. That's how I know. And so it's like, but you're also like, I used to quote you to you. Do you remember before you would go on?
Oh
I
yeah,
would
always.
say
You would always do it.
because I would get anxiety, and then you would say these things to me that then I would laugh at and then quote to you. So I think the two were, one was, I'd be like, I don't know what to do. You'd be like, just talk to them. Just talk to them. You know, like very like, and you know what, it works. And I think the other one, it was, they're just people. Was that the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just people.
They're just people.
Yeah. Yeah, with that, like, kind of like a little bit of disgust, but a little bit of just like a matter of fact. You know, they're just people. Like, just talk to them. And so before you would go on stage, I'd be like, Pete, just talk to them. They're just people. I'm very funny, you know. But yeah, I think it's like, for me, I wrote down a whole list here. I wrote, you're pragmatic. That's like the thing that to me, it's like that. If I had to say like one thing about you, it's like, you're very pragmatic. You're like, you don't get lost in the weeds, you know. You just are like, okay, what can I do? I'll do it, right? Like, a lot of people get kind of caught up in their heads. You don't seem to, right? You're a super hard worker. I wrote, you're prolific as a writer. Like, you have like all of your TikTok stuff, so many jokes. Like, then they're whole bits, and I'm like, what the fuck? What have I been doing? Like, it made me be like, I was like, how many jokes do I have? Like, you have so many, and they work, and like, I abandon them because I'm like, you're pathetic, you know, about my old jokes.
That's so funny,
like,
because I think I'm such a slack writer, and I hate it. I just like, I think that, yeah, I find my I keep going every time we go into lockdown. I'm like, I've got to spend way more time writing because they're all undercooked. Like, they're all like, that's
wild.
They're just like,
that's
there could
crazy.
be so much. There should be so many more jokes in there. I'm not like, I just don't write enough. They're just like, yeah, there's so many where it's just like, you got to spend some more time writing these jokes. Is how I genuinely feel.
But do you do that? Do you then sit down and write them
No.
more? Right. Oh, that makes me feel a little better. You know?
No, I'm so slack. I should be so much. That is.
But you're not slack, though. I mean, for you, you're slack, but you're not actually slack, because I'm slack. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do need to spend more time doing it. Imagine then, though, right?
So then what stops you from doing it?
Oh, you just get lazy with it. I can't push myself to. I mean, especially during lockdown sort of stuff, where it's like, hey, I'm not even gigging for 2 weeks. It's like,
well, that's kind of different.
How am I going to try it? You know.
I think it's like, I just think that for all of us, it's so hard. Like, here, I don't think it's going to happen here, but like, people keep like whispering about like, maybe they'll go into another lockdown. I'm like, good luck trying to lock us down again. We don't have any money. Like, we're not locking down again, you know?
Yeah.
But even hearing that makes it hard for me to like want to plan or to try.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's just so upsetting. But so anyway, I guess it's like, how do you do this? How the fuck how do you go from having, like, because do you have anxiety? Do you get anxiety?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like, you mean in regards, specifically in regards to comedy, we were only out for a week, which is how I was able to justify it in my mind. But like, I had a couple of gigs where I'm like, oh, great. You know what? Didn't miss a beat. You know, we were away for 2 weeks, but we're back, and oh my God, better than ever. And then I did a run of gigs where I'm like, oh God, you fucking suck.
Did you suck?
I believe so. I mean, I did. Yeah, I did for sure. Like, they went fine. I could justify my mind why it wasn't great. And it's just like, you didn't really work on any of these jokes. You didn't add any punchlines. It didn't work the night before. You changed nothing. You got up again, and it didn't work again. It's like, surprise, surprise. You knew that would happen, but you didn't do anything to stop it. And then it's like, oh, cool, and now you're back into another lockdown probably for another 2 weeks. And so whatever momentum that you could have built up over getting to fix it over the next year is just like, okay, cool, let's stop it again and try and figure that out later on. But like, I mean, but that's probably where the compulsion to the addiction to just getting up and doing it over and like gigging so much is the only thing that I've seen fix not just myself, but like everybody. The only way I've ever seen anybody ever get better at in comedy, or is by just gigging all the time, as much as they can. And especially all the American acts that I know, where it's just like, oh, they'll talk about how many they did in a week or how many they would do a night. All these New York acts that are actually good at comedy, you know, that it's like, and then you go, oh, okay, well, just try and do as much as you can in the scene that you're currently in, and that will fix the problems that you have, which are so many, but it's the only way out of it.
In terms of the open mic scene, I feel like you kind of changed the scene in Melbourne, because it was like you and a couple other people started gigging relentlessly and like going to everything that was available, like doing 3 or I think even like 5 gigs, right, in a night sometimes, if you could.
Yeah, if you could. Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't think anybody had ever really done that in Melbourne before, right? Because I don't think that there used to be that many.
No.
And then I don't think that comics knew that that's how you get better.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, right? Is that true?
Yeah, I think that's true. It was because I started at the same time as Luca Muller and Aidan Taco Jones and Blake Freeman. Yeah. We all started at the same time, and we all would just like listen to American comedians on podcasts where they all say the only way you get better is to gig. And then those guys especially, they did it way more than early on, where I would do any comedy gig that I could, but those guys were doing like music open mics and just like as much.
Right. I do music open mics too. Yeah. It's great.
I mean, the last gig that I did before this one of the last gigs I did before this lockdown was a poetry open mic.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's great because it's like people are like, and then the rain beats, and they're like, ugh, and then you come out and you're funny, and they're like, great, you know, like people fucking love it. Yeah.
People also hate open mic poetry. Like if you go in and say anything,
totally.
It's like you could be better. But we came in and then just would do anything. And of course, everybody responds to that by going, "You guys are fucking losers."
Totally.
by doing these shit gigs, and we're like, "Okay, sure," but like we want to do comedy. This is the only way we can do it, and we want to, like everyone says, do as much as you can. So we just do as much as we can, and then we all got better.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Because being here now, so in New York, everybody does shitty open mics. Even the bigger comics probably go to like shows as their open mics, you know?
Yeah.
But still, it's like you'll see pretty big names like doing open mics or a picture of them in someone's story. And it's because everybody knows you have to work on it and that sometimes you just got to get it out. And they don't care. They don't have an ego about open mics because they have, they also have so many shows that it's like, who gives a shit? Like, I'm going to go to a mic and then I'm going to go on at a show. Like, there's just like shit going on all the time. But it didn't occur to me in Australia. It's like the mics are like, it's like you would do them. I never got into the mindset that like, because here it's like if you do material like as if you're trying like to get laughs, like not trying a new bit or not trying to work on it, but just doing your set at an open mic because the mics are just comics. It's like people kind of, I think, if they see you do that again and again, it's like, unless you're a newer comic trying to get better or whatever, people think it's like ridiculous. Like, why are you, like, you're supposed to try new at an open mic. Yeah. And that's the idea. And I remember someone in Melbourne talking about signing up for an open mic in New York, and it was at like 4 p.m. in the basement of this bar. And they were like, oh, man, it sucks. And now I see that I'm like, no, the point of that is just for people to be working on stuff. Yep. And they're working on it in front of other comics. And it's really made me see it differently. Like, I feel like I kind of missed a lot of opportunities because I could have just been using all those open mics in Melbourne to like really work on material without any kind of like pressure on myself. But instead I always felt so much pressure to be funny that I just couldn't let myself really do new, except at your show when I was trying to impress you.
Yeah, of course.
By bombing with new, but it was a different angle on my pussy stuff. So
well, you see it all the time. You see it with more like an act will come along and they'll be on a good show. And they're like, I haven't done a gig in 2 weeks. I'm going to do some new stuff. It's just like, this is the good show. When do you do good shows? Like,
you should be working toward this.
Yeah, this is the best show you'll do it's the only show you're doing in 2 weeks, but this is the best show you'll do. Why are you going, okay, cool, well, I'm going to guarantee myself a worse set than I could possibly have because I've spent no time working on it until this point. And then it's just like, okay, well, why did you do that?
But see, this is what I mean, that you're so pragmatic. It's like you can see stuff that way. I don't know. Sometimes I think a lot of comics can't do that, or a lot of people can't do that in general, where it's like they just kind of go, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do, or
yeah,
I feel like doing this, or, they get kind of like a deer in headlights in some ways, whereas you just seem to, like, I don't know, be able to take like a very relaxed approach about stuff, and it's worked. I mean, I've seen, like, you get a lot of things in comedy just by being, and I mean this in like a good way, but kind of like slow and steady. Do you know what I mean? Not slow, but just steady.
No, but yeah.
And not erratic, and not like over emotional. You just kind of like do the work, you show up, you don't seem to take it too, it's not that you don't take it seriously, like you fuck around, but you just don't like take it too much to heart. You're just like doing your thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, whenever whenever it's like, I mean, you go a week of it failing, it just like, it sucks, but I also know that it is the only way to fix it is to keep working on it. It's like, you can't, like, there's no world where anybody could be like, okay, this sucks, I'm not doing well, these jokes aren't working, you know what I should do? Take 3 months off to reassess. And it's like, well, that's never going to work. Like, no. I know that in a week I'll have done another, you do another 7 gigs, another 10 gigs, and by that time, after those, you'll be like, oh, cool, I've got a new problem that I need to fix. Like,
you won't even remember.
No, you won't even remember what the problem was. Like, because if you take all that time off, and there's so many acts that do that, where they just take these long gaps between these shows, and they're anxious, constantly about everything, where it's just like, man, I can't even, if you do 4 in a night, the problems that you had in the first gig, you've probably fixed by gig 4, and you've got, you've got a new problem you now need to deal with.
Or it's even like, maybe you got the problem still, but you had like fun sets. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just increase the likelihood that you're going to have fun, and then those problems don't feel like big problems anymore. It just feels like...
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Oh, I got to work on that joke. Yeah.
The other problem at the moment in Melbourne is because of the constant lockdowns. It's just like, there's just... Before, there used to be, you could get up easily, do 10 in a week. Yeah. And now it's just like, you can't... There's nights you can't get one. You can't do anything.
Yeah. So how do you deal with knowing that you don't have control over this stuff, like, and just knowing that, like, it's out of your hands?
I mean, it's just a case. I mean, it is really hard to avoid the thought of like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Do you think that like Australia is doing the wrong thing with the lockdowns and stuff, or you mean like?
No, I mean just like personally, it's just like what like. Yeah. I mean, all it is because it's like the hardest thing to break is like, you break momentum doing comedy. It's just like it's the thing you need is momentum. You need more gigs and you need momentum, and just keep doing it. You can obviously have breaks, but then after those breaks, you've got to get back and like after the break, after the 6 months we had off with the lockdown last year, we were on a roll for such a long period of time. That's just like, oh yeah, cool, momentum. We're doing it again. We're better.
Yeah, and everything's behind us, and like everything's fine now. Yeah,
and then you do a run of like, oh no, lockdown, and it's just like, oh, okay, all right, stop, start. That's the stuff that's the stuff that fucks with your head. Well, it fucks with my head anyway.
Well, it's funny because you and I spoke. So when I said recently before that you gave me advice, you and I spoke because I was like trying to do these gigs and I just wasn't that into it. I just wasn't feeling it, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is the only thing I know that I want to do, and I don't feel like I'm into it. And you were like, you just need to gig more. And so then I did. And it's funny because, I got like, it was good. I mean, it was good. That week I did, how many gigs did I do that week? It was a lot. Like 12 or 15.
It was a
lot. It was like so many mics. And then the following week I started working, and I haven't really been able to, I haven't tried to do that many since then. Yeah. And right now I'm trying to just like balance out the day and the night. Like last night I went out. I mean, I was bummed last night because I realized, I don't know why I'm bummed. Like, so I was sitting around anxious after work yesterday, and I was like, I'm just going to go to this gig. I'm not even on, but it's like one of my favorite, it's like the only good room that will book me at the moment. And it's like a really good room. And It's The Cellar. I'm on at The Cellar. Sorry, I didn't tell you. But no, it's not The Cellar. But it's like a very fun place, and it's in the Village. And the guy who books it is really cool. And he's away, and I was like, I'm just gonna go and hang out, right? Like, and he's the only one I know really, and he's not there. But I'm like, if someone drops out or maybe whatever. And then I had like so many, like all afternoon. I mean, I was free for hours and I was like, I'm not going to go. Fuck it, no, I should. What am I going to wear? And I went through this like whole thing and I was like, you just need to go. And I knew I was going to a comic's birthday after. And finally I got myself to go. And it was like, I was going to get there 20, 30 minutes after the show started and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm not going to go. And I'm like, just go. And so, I mean, it was crazy. Like, and I finally went, and then there was someone I knew there and started talking, and there were a few people, and there was a guy I didn't know. And then I sat down, we started talking, and it was really fun. It was like so much fun. I ended up talking to this guy. We talked for like an hour about comedy, obviously, and he's a comedian. Then he I didn't know he had a show, but he booked me on his show. I was like, oh, cool. And then the owner of the club was there, and he had seen me, and he really he liked me. So I was about to leave, and he goes, "No, you should go on." And he drags me over to the booker and was like, the host, and was like, "Put her on," which was like very nice, but also I was so frazzled, and because I haven't been doing enough.
Yeah,
I wasn't amazing. I did well in the room. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
I don't think the people in the audience knew that I was off, but my new friend recorded me, and because I really needed tape, and it was not a great tape. Like, I just know I haven't even seen it, so it's like, I don't know. I guess it's like, I'm like, oh, I just have to fucking go out more, but also, I guess the reason I was thinking about this was just that what you're talking about, where you like lose momentum and all this stuff. It's like going back to stand up from being away from it for so long, and then still not really being in momentum or whatever. Momentum. It's kind of amazing to see that like I'm still funny. Like I'm still funny, and even though I have off nights, I'm like, oh, I think I might be a comedian. And that I think it's really cool that even though we've had COVID, like you realize that can't be taken away from you. Do you know what I mean? Like you can take time off, you can go through all this stuff, but like that's something that you just have now. And also that it's been developing even if you're not on stage. I didn't realize that like me developing as a person would still make me a better comedian, even though I haven't been gigging,
Yes. Yeah.
I was bummed though, because I thought that guy was really cute. I was bummed that the first time he saw me, because we've been talking comedy for so long, and you start being like, well, this one time, and like, I've been doing it longer than him, and he's like, wow, like he's being like, he was really feeding me that he like thought I was so funny, and then he recorded me, and I was like, fine, and I'm like, no, like, but anyway, it's all right.
That's also a guarantee. I realized the other thing, those last three gigs that I did that were all duds, that a lot of them had in common is that before the gigs had big conversations about comedy. If you have a big conversation about like, what you're doing and what to do, and like, here's the thing about how you write, or like whatever, you're guaranteed to have a bad set.
Oh, totally. And when you get up your own ass too far, which I did yesterday. Yeah. It's funny, like, someone said that, I forget, I think it was like someone famous, but like the good thing about stand-up is that as soon as you get like really arrogant about it, it brings you back down to earth. Because it's just like, it doesn't allow you to be like, I mean, I think that like someone like Dave Chappelle's a bit arrogant. Like, I mean, why wouldn't he be? Yeah. And I do think that it stops, I personally think that like, I don't find people as funny when they're really arrogant, when they know that they're famous and that they can say whatever. I don't know, it doesn't get me the same way. I love Dave Chappelle's old stuff. I don't love his new stuff. I feel like that could get me canceled in comedy.
The set about about telling people not to watch the Chappelle Show on Netflix, didn't kill it for you?
Oh, with the SNL one? Oh God. Is that like his monologue, you mean?
Oh no, the one where he did a whole set where it was just like, hey, don't watch the Chappelle Show because I didn't get paid properly.
Yeah, but he said that on SNL.
Oh, did he? I didn't see it.
In his monologue. I'm pretty sure that he did it in his monologue on SNL. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, are other people seeing things that I just don't see? Because I don't think it's that great sometimes. And everyone's like, oh my God, did you see Chappelle? And I'm like, yeah. I'm not even going to get behind my opinion that much because I'm like, okay, I guess maybe I'm wrong. But I'm like, but is it that you just really love him and you want to find it funny even if it's not that funny, you know? I don't know. I'm a little I'm almost dead right now. I slept so little. All right, so
yeah.
I'm just there's a couple other things I wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down like that you're like financially solvent, you know. That you like I'm like so jealous. But and that you're like engaged, right? But but I think I will, you know, all those things. It's like you could tell me about them, but it's like it's just more of this. What I want to know, right, is what do you get jealous of in other people, or like what do you envy in other people?
Great question.
Thank you. You're welcome.
What is it that I get jealous of? I mean, other people. It's a weird thing where it's like I'm able to, whatever problem I'm able to, whatever problem it is that I'm having. Any other people getting success. When it's like, I mean, it is that very Australian thing we were talking about before, where it's just like, like that feeling of there's really no such thing as unearned success, because it's just like, who gives a shit? You obviously earned it because you got it, whatever it is. Right. You got it for whatever reason you got it for, whoever it is. Right. Like there's no right way to get anything because people just fucking get stuff. Like you just
people make up rules about how things work that aren't true. It's like, well, you have to work. If you don't work hard, you don't deserve it. It's like, why do you think that working hard is the only way to get that? You know what I mean? Like
why?
You could,
and why is
you be born into a rich family? Oh, sorry.
Or why is your version of working hard? Why is your version of why is my version of working hard the only version of working hard that counts? Where it's just like, that's not true. How is that possible? Like, obviously, there's other ways of doing it. There's other directions that you can work hard. Like, you don't have to do everything that I believe for myself. It's just like, oh, well, they didn't do it the way that I like. So then it's just like, well, fuck them.
Right. Well, like the TikTok thing, for example. Right? Yes. Like getting... Because before you and I joined TikTok...
Yes.
I feel like if we had talked about this a year ago, we would have been like, that's... so fucking lame, right? Like, right? Do you think that's true?
I feel like, it was definitely a thing where it's like by doing it and also getting like big numbers on something and having it feel like nothing, and then also being like, oh, I thought that was something that there was like a magic to it, like it was a magic formula, or that it was for other people, or that wasn't possible, or it's just like, oh, that would never happen for me because why? Like, who knows why?
Right.
But it's just like, for whatever reason, the algorithm liked that bit, and then it took off, and then it did well, and it's like, okay, great. That means that there's really no difference between somebody else's success, especially online, and my success, other than their hard work. You know,
right? Which is something that I didn't even know about until I started doing this.
Yes, totally. I think that I probably, understand, but it just gives you a greater understanding of like, anybody who's successful doing internet stuff, where it's just like, they're just doing it because it's just like, because they're working really hard at that thing, at the thing that they're doing. They're working really hard to produce it. They're working really hard to get that content out, constant content, whatever it is. And you're like, oh, okay, that is also hard work. Whereas
it's true.
And like you can spend your entire life just doing open mics the right way. And I also, which is what I believe, the only way you can get better at stand-up is by doing stand-up.
Yes.
I think they're different things, but I think that there's like, I guess the jealousy thing is like people getting success, and then it'll be this initial feeling of like, oh, fuck them. Depending on who it is. Depending on who it is. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It depends on who it is. But like somebody getting something, there'll be an initial one like, oh, of course. Or like, that feeling. And then I am able to go through it in my brain as to why that happened. And go, okay, that's why that happened. And you're not that person. and
Right.
there's no way that you can like that can change. You know, like there's nothing I can do. Like I can't be younger. I can't be hotter. I can't be any like I can't do any of
I
those
love
things.
that you and I are in the same. Like we're I mean, we're probably at the same age, roughly.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I wrote something. I wrote down a line that was like, "I'm the level. Like my attractiveness is like at the level where when I speak, people actually listen to what I'm saying." You know, nobody's like lost in my eyes. You know, what I mean? They're not like, oh, she's so, like they're just like listening. You know what I mean? Like that's my level. But yeah, it's like
They will if they don't, they will rebut you if they don't like your point. You're at that level.
yeah, yeah. And if they're following me, it's probably because they think I'm like actually funny, not because they're like, oh man, I want to fuck her. You know, it's like I mean, some people, but not that many. You know, but yeah, that like we're in a category of like like people. You know what I mean? Like I think right. Am I putting us in the same category by being like you and I are both like normal looking people? Is that the rudest thing I've ever
unremarkable
said?
people.
I didn't use that word. I didn't say I was unremarkable. My God. But we're just people who are like working on, you know what I mean? We're not like on the cover of a magazine. We're not super young. We're not showing off our whatever. We're just like comedians, which is I think how comedians, to me, how they should be. But like what you said, anybody can do whatever they want.
Anybody can do anything.
You know,
there's
except
no
for
reason.
gay people, they shouldn't be able to get married.
Hang
you know?
on a second.
You're like, wait, what am I on?
What's this?
Yeah. I'm kidding. I was about to be like, I love gay people. I'm like, stop. They know. But so you're able to like, you feel the jealousy, and then you have like a method basically for dealing with those feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I can still be obviously jealous of somebody else's success, but then either it will continue along the lines of I just will be annoyed at this person and make fun of this person because like that's great
the
fun.
Australian way.
The Australian way, but also like how much fun is that? I never understand anybody who's just like, I'm just happy for this loser. Like, why? Where's the fun in that?
Yeah, listen, bullying is fun. I'm not gonna I have to say, like as a bully,
Totally.
it's yeah. I think you and I are like pretty good bullies because we're like pretty quick, and we really can see where people's like open. Like where their armor is missing, and we're like, I see that. Oh, well, maybe that's because your parents left. I don't know. Just whatever it is. But congratulations. No, I'm sure it really fills the void. Oh, it doesn't? Good for you. Like, I mean, I don't know. We can be,
yeah, it's like you're a millionaire. Oh, congrats.
Yeah.
Your jokes suck. So.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, but I work. You're like, but yeah, you'll never be funny. But that's okay, That's right. You got a millionaire now is not as a billionaire. You got to be a billionaire.
You got to be a billionaire.
Elon Musk, very rich, not funny. Not funny.
The only important thing. And he's
the guy
not
owns
that.
Mars.
The guy can go to
like,
space, but can you make me laugh? I don't think so. That's the only currency I deal in. Yeah. So.
Yes, the same. I mean, you know what the funny thing is? I think that's true for both of us. I think we're like, we don't really care. But like legit, I don't. Of course, I don't really feel jealous of money.
No,
I mean, I like sometimes I wish I had more of it, but I'm not like, oh man, if I had that plane, I'm like, if I had that plane, I'd be a cunt. Like, who owns a plane? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think about money so much. I don't know. I'm not as jealous as I used to be. I think my jealousy really is for stuff that like what you have, where I'm like, how do you get yourself to do work? How do you kind of believe in yourself and move yourself forward? I'm actually really excited to try this ADHD medication to see if that does help. Because I'm like, what if it's just like how my brain works? I mean,
it's just
probably
a focus
if
thing.
Yeah, maybe if I meditated, I could get past it, but I can't fucking focus to meditate. No, I do meditate sometimes, but I don't know. Okay, so you jealousy.
Yeah, so I feel like my jealousy would then the way that it would rear its head is in making fun of whoever it is that has something that but but the flip of it is understanding why, understanding why that person, why they got, it's like, oh man, I wish I could get. Often, oh man, that person got this thing that I don't want. That's often what it is as well. There's, just that idea of people either it is they got something that I don't want, or I understand why it is they got the thing that they got, or it is I know somebody's success in some areas is just because you didn't do it. Because you didn't work hard at this, or because you didn't work hard in this other area. It's nobody was at your festival show. It's because you didn't do anything to get anybody to come to it. You can't be mad at somebody else selling out because you didn't bother to do the exact same work that they all did. Nobody's special.
Well, you can, but it really depletes you. I mean, you know, that's what I've found that I mean, I guess in the festival, it's a competitive, that someone selling out their show means that those people aren't at your show. But in general, I've started to realize other people's success does not take away from me.
No.
It's not, you know what I mean? It's not oh man, they can only follow one person on Instagram.
Yeah.
And they followed someone else who wasn't me, you know? It's no, they can.
Who is it that exists in the world that only listens to one band?
Yeah,
you know?
or one podcast even. I mean, one. If you only listen to this podcast, you're doing the right thing. But you should listen to Pete's as well. Yeah. Right.
Please do. Ooh, spooky. Subscribe on all platforms.
on all, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, have it on everything. Get it on Spotify, Apple. If you've got Pocket Cast, get it on there. Just subscribe on everything. It is available.
Totally.
Also, 25 Days. There's 2 podcasts. Get on that one as well.
I was going to have you plug everything.
No, I'm just doing it at this point. I'll do it at the end as well. It's good to get a plug in the middle, so they don't skip
the middle. Yeah, imagine if this is the middle. Yeah, we got another hour and a half to go.
It's one of those 3-hour Joe Rogan style.
Yeah, well, it would suit me, just to talk forever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's, other people's success or other people making money or other people selling out or other people having audiences. At some point in time, I do understand why it is that they do and I don't, and what it is that I have to do in order to get that sort of thing. And then sometimes you don't. And sometimes it is a thing where it's you can't, sometimes it is a thing that you can't change about yourself. That thing where it's just hey, look, if I was 19 and hot, if I was a hot dude, 19, where's the trouble in selling those tickets?
But also it's funny because
but if I was bombing, then it's just it's you can't fix it.
Well, yeah, I think that I used to be jealous of hot people and I'm not anymore because I'm people don't see you. They just see your hotness. And then you don't have to grow in the same way. And I know that, I mean, there are plenty of people who are hot.
That is a real ugly person thing to say,
Oh, you're so pretty. But actually I said to these chicks last week at this place that I said that I love gigging, these 3 really beautiful chicks from the South who were sitting right up front, and they would when I was they laughed, but they were also yeah, girl. I was just what are you? They're 3 white chicks from Virginia. I'm what are you doing? But very pretty. I think their names were all Brittany. You know what I mean? And they, I said to them toward the end of my set, I'm well, I was asking them where they're from, whatever. And then I'm you're really pretty. You're just so pretty. Oh, wow. We're so beautiful. I was but I'm funny. So, and it got a really good laugh, but it's yeah, that's how I deal with it, I'm just oh, you have your looks, but I have this withering cynicism, that people relate to. So who's really winning? And it's them. But yeah. All right. Well, you know what I used to do, because we're wrapping up here, but I have always forced the guests, I think even from the first episode, to compliment me / tell me what they're jealous of. But you know what? I can't tell if I should keep it in or take it out now that I'm kind of doing this revamp. Because I'm do I need it? Today, I think I worked so much and I slept so little that I feel peace somehow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel contentment, but I'm but I won't feel this way tomorrow once I'm rested. The void will come back. I don't know. What would you vote? Do you think it's funny to make people compliment me, or is it just like so sad?
I feel like, but you have to ask the question: why do you want the compliment?
It gets me wet. You know what I mean? Like
then I vote no.
No, I think I like putting people on the spot. You know that about me, and I never got compliments when I was growing up. You know, and then also when I lived in Australia, I never got any fucking compliments, and that's when I started this whole thing, and I really needed it. But yeah, mostly I think it's just kind of fun. You know, what do you think? Now that I've kind of explained it, I kind of want to do it again. Yeah.
You want a compliment?
Well, I'm kind of like, I think I'm like, now that we've talked about it, and now that you said you don't want to do it because I said the thing about getting me wet, I'm like, we should do it. You know, like, and, you know, but more in a spiritual way than like a vagina way. You know, tickles my soul.
Okay, all right, I'll give you a compliment.
But okay, I'll give you something you're jealous of too. Anything you want.
Okay, all right.
You know. Do you see that I'm like stroking my mane right now as I prepare for this? Okay. Yes. I'm ready.
I am jealous of your ability to be completely honest on stage and not really having any kind of filter in that respect. You seemingly don't care what people think of what you're saying. See, I even made it a dig.
So Australian, yeah.
And then I think that's a good compliment. I think that's you always
look at you deciding what's enough here. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
That you've always even, you know, you've always just had that ability to be like you know, have a level of honesty on stage where it's just like you don't have a filter with it, where you will say it's whatever, which I don't have. I overthink it all and think like, oh, I best not say that because of how what somebody might think of it. If it's something, even if it's a real thought or like an honest thought, or best keep that one to myself, or an embarrassing thing that happened to me on there. Like, oh, okay, let me just process it a lot before saying it on stage. Whereas you'll often be like, here you go, this happened, this is real, this is a real thing.
Thanks. It's so funny. I was talking about something like this yesterday, and I was saying I've been told that when I'm like honest or vulnerable, I think more than even honest, that's when I'm funniest. But I struggle to figure out how to do that as like a general thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's like what you're saying. I thank you. Like, I just don't know I don't really know how to do it. Do you know what I mean? Or, do you know what I mean? Like, it just happens sometimes. I think it'll be like someone's cute, and then I'll be like, I'll be like looking at them. I'm like, I think we're flirting. Or, you know, like that's like a joke, but then I'll be like, he's really cute or whatever. Or I don't know. And then I'll be like, now I'm not insecure. Or I'm not sure like how it looks, like what things I say that make you think that. Like, I don't know what you're like, oh, she's being really honest in this. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's like with the audience, or if it's in a bit, like telling a story, or do you know what I mean? Or is it just like,
I mean, like I don't think I don't know if there'd be any topic that you would count as off limits for you to talk about on stage. Or even your own opinion of something. I don't think that you would. And I actually think that it's like, okay, something that I do need to work on is just being like completely honest. Because when you've got this barrier, it's just like you're stopping. You need that honesty on stage to be like, you have to be completely honest. Whatever your thoughts are, whatever you think, like, you know, whatever you think of the audience, if you're lying, they know you're lying to some degree.
Right. They can feel that.
And you're then stuck. Some people can get stuck in that lie forever. Like present themselves as like, oh, I'm just like I'm a clean comic and I'm a fun guy and here I am. And then get off stage and be like, fuck these dumb cunts.
Yeah, it's true. I think I don't know, not most. I think a lot of older comics, and I saw that a lot in Australia, that like you get a lot of the old school stuff. People were very like kind of like putting on almost like a gimmick or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, totally. My name's da, da, da. And then you get to know them, and actually they could be cooler than they were on stage, or they could be darker, or they could be maybe gay. Do you know, there's some people that I'm like, there's one very famous Australian comic. Obviously, I'm not going to say who it is, but from hanging. I mean, I'll say it to you after, but hanging
Yes,
out a little
thank
bit,
you.
I was like, of course I will. I'm like, I'm sure he's gay. But I've said it to a couple of people, and they're like, he's not gay. I'm like, he's gay. But you know, I haven't put it in writing, and I haven't recorded it anywhere, so nobody can sue me. But it's funny that you could be sued for saying someone's gay. Anyway, but, you know, I'm like. Anyway, I'm like, yeah, it's like it's still a slur or like slander, whatever. I have ADHD,
Yeah,
so
congrats.
if I go on a tangent,
You and everybody
sorry.
else.
Yeah, seriously, everybody who has a phone. But yeah, it's funny when you said I'm not afraid of sharing my opinions. I started like my back seized up when I was trying to write, because that's when I get really stressed. When I was trying to write material during lockdown about my political opinions, because that's like one thing that I don't know why. It's like I think the fear that people, I don't care if people don't like me for being myself on some level, like, or if they think I'm like a whore or, you know, something like that, you know, all the things that they could think of me as a woman for saying these whatever things.
Yes.
Because I'm like, oh, you're wrong. Like, I can say whatever I want. If you have a problem with that, that's because you're whatever. It's about you. But my fear is that I'll say something, because I study political science. I have very strong political opinions, and it's not like the Republicans are this, you know, it's kind of more like people are this way and whatever. But my fear is expressing that and then being seen as stupid or dumb in my opinions.
Yeah.
Because I feel not that way. But that was like my family. It was always like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like my dad and my brother. And so that still is with me. And when I was trying to write stuff about like the government, like the driest shit you can imagine, my back seized up because I had this like fear that like, what if people think I'm stupid? You know, and that's, it's really weird the ways that like, you know, you're kind of, I'll talk about like, oh, this guy was going down on me and then, or I was this and that, or everybody. I mean, like right now, all the messages I keep getting from creepy dudes are like, everybody's like, don't shave your bush. And I'm like, what's your name? Like, you know, all this stuff. I'll say like so many things. But when it comes to like what I think about, I don't know, the American public, I'm like, I can't, I shouldn't say, you know, like,
Yeah,
it's weird. It's weird.
My fear with that would be just like, I mean, yeah, sounding dumb, but also like being thought of as that it's wrong. Whereas it can't be wrong because it is just your opinion. It doesn't even matter if it's wrong. Like, who gives a fuck?
No.
But like, that would be,
totally.
I'd be like, I'd hate to say the wrong thing. I wouldn't want to be wrong about it. I wouldn't want to say the wrong thing, or, oh fuck, I could, if I say this, does that mean like, is that going to upset this person? If I say that, am I going to be thought of as like, oh no, will this happen? And it's just like overthinking all this bullshit where it's just like, it doesn't, whereas, and putting those barriers up in front of like what your actual opinion is. And in the end, it's just like, well, that's, they're going to know. People know. There's so
And
many
also,
comics.
well, it's also like,
yeah.
people need to know your opinion. That's what comedy is.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
It's not like, well, everybody seems to think this, so I agree. You know, it's like everybody seems to think this, and I think it's fucking stupid. You know what I mean? I think it's dumb. And then, but there's still a fear that everybody will hate you for saying it.
Yes,
right?
Totally, completely.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I feel like that's one area where it's like, with me, it's like, okay, well, I've really got to work on that part of me to be able to be like, hey, this is it. This is all of it. Because if you hide behind anything, it's just like there's not going to be a connection with anybody. That's the easiest way to have a connection with nobody, is to be like, well, actually, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm actually a bit of a bloke, and I'm here, like, you know, like creating some bullshit persona because it's just like, well, this is what they bloody liked out of the footy club, and come on, fellas, let's get it going. Like, it's just like, that's also bullshit, and someone knows, and someone can laugh at the moment, but they're like, I don't connect to this person. They're obviously fake. Yeah, you can always tell. Everyone knows. Yes,
it's true. I've seen it here too. I mean, I see it. I just see like some people can make people laugh, and then people just forget all about them. You know what I mean? And I've seen that, you know, and we all have that in some way. I mean, of course, it's not everybody has to remember us, but it's like there's some comics where I'm like, you know, like here, and I've met some people, and I'm like, wow, you've been doing this a long time. it doesn't really seem like people care. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what you want as a comic. You want to be like, not just making people laugh in the moment, but you want them to be like, wow, I really like you. I want to know more about what you think. But if nobody's doing that, it's like, well, what are you doing? Are you like some kind of magician at a children's party? Do you know what I mean? Where it's like you just show up and entertain people and then you go home and
yes,
that's it. You know, somebody else books you maybe. Like, I don't know. That's not what I want.
You're even better off being in a position where people hate you because
yes.
they're like, they don't agree or they think that you're like, they don't like what you say. It's like, I can't stand that person because of a thing you actually did. Whereas it happens, there's so much in Australia where you will meet, like I'll talk to friends of mine who aren't in comedy and who have never been around comedians. And I've worked on worked on multiple shows, TV shows, and people will go, hey, is such and such a piece of shit? Because I get the impression that they're a piece of shit, even though like their public persona is like friendly person, and you'd be like, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
People saw through it. Like regular people, everyone can see through the bullshit. Everybody can see through your bullshit, even if you go, oh, this is I got to keep it broad and keep it light, and then people at home are like, this guy's full of shit.
Totally.
People can just see it, and so you're better off being like, hey, this is my actual opinion, and have people at home be like, fuck you. Rather than going like, God, you're so fucking fake. I hate it. You're better off being honest.
I like Damien Power for that reason. Cause I think
totally.
He's just he's incapable of putting on a persona. I mean, he's been on the project, right? Like I've seen him do. And I think he'll like probably wear certain clothes. You know, that's like his equivalent of like snazzing up or whatever. But he's just who he is. And like, I appreciate that. You know, and that's why I'm just waiting for him to come back to me. Because Damien, if you're listening, I love you. No, just kidding. But yeah, I agree with you. And I'm gonna tell you after. What was I gonna tell you? I was gonna tell you. A guy I think is gay.
Yeah. The act you want to out.
Ooh, crazy! You know, this guy who's like probably. Certainly not gay, but I'm like, I have an opinion. It's got to be real. Well, before we go, but thank you so much for like doing this. This has been.
Of course, thank you for having me on I'm in lockdown. I got plenty of time.
This has been like the longest we've ever had a conversation that wasn't in your car when you really needed to go and you were just dropping me off somewhere.
Not sure.
You know
I'm sure we've talked for 2+ hours on the phone where I've still tried to get out of it, but like we definitely have.
I have screenshots of our messages. You did not try to get out of it. Oh, you mean during the conversation?
Yeah.
No, I think you were in lockdown then too. You were in quarantine the last time we spoke.
I was in quarantine last time we spoke.
You didn't need to go, and you were like, yeah.
Genuinely had nowhere to go.
You're like, it's either this or walking in the backyard.
I can't see other people. This will be fine.
Yes, seriously.
I'm happy to talk.
You were so present. Like I was like, Pete sounds like he's alone in a room. You know, like
yeah.
And then But in Melbourne, I used to be like, yeah, would you mind just dropping me? And then you'd be like, yeah, I got to run. I'm like, oh, let's just talk for like an hour. My mom died like 30 years ago and I'm still processing, you know? All right. So now that I dropped in the mom dying thing, that's like I have to drop that into every episode. Do you want to plug stuff? Like plug everything, plug all your
yes. Podcast wise, listen to Ooh Spooky, which is a podcast that I do, comedy podcast I do with Adam Knox and Luca Muller. And also we've got currently 25 Days, which is a very funny podcast with me and Adam Knox and Luca Muller, where we used to do it every year. We'd go to Edinburgh. We'd record it every day when we were in Edinburgh, but we currently can't go to Edinburgh, so we're just making it up.
Really? Because you did it last year too, right?
Yeah.
But last year you didn't. Did you make it up, or you re-released stuff last year?
No, last year we made it up as well. We just let's just
that's so funny.
Make up jokes and make up stories. And so this year we're interviewing various comedians of the Edinburgh Fringe are popping by to talk to us.
What the fuck? No one asked me.
Yeah, because they're characters that we're playing.
Oh. I was going to put it on my list of things to be kind of upset about tomorrow after I've slept. You know?
They're us doing English accents, basically. Making fun of English comedians.
Do one.
No, thank you. Just listen to the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. And that's 25 days.
That's 25 days. So 25 days and Ooh Spooky are the two big ones. But follow me on Instagram at the Peter the Jones. I'd love that.
And
that's what I want.
TikTok?
And also, I'm also on TikTok. Same thing. At the Peter the Jones.
And don't you have a newsletter?
I do have a newsletter. You can subscribe to that. It's on my website, peterjonescomedy.com. Imagine I would love to know the people, and I hope you do, who do all of these things.
It's going to be me, but I want you to think that a lot of people listen to this, so I'm going to come up with like a lot of different aliases and
You're going to create a lot of bots to interact.
Yeah, like Gmail accounts, but they can't all be Gmail, so be like Yahoo, Gmail, AOL. I'll use my dad's AOL one, and Instagram. And I'm going to follow you, and I'm going to subscribe from all these, and I'm also going to use like a VPN to listen to the podcast from different countries. So you'll be like, wow, Eve's podcast is really taken off.
Blow up after it. It's great.
Yeah. And it's just me. I haven't really. I can only release one podcast a month because the rest of it's just dedicated to making the guests think that they've gotten a lot from it. But that sounds actually like something I should spend my time on. Anyway. Okay, I'm gonna focus. Thank you for listening. You can follow me at Eve Elbow on Instagram, also on TikTok. I have gone viral once, not quite like Peter Jones, but it's a lot of Jew stuff on there, some dick content, which is rare on TikTok, so get in there. And I was going to follow the podcast on Everyone's Doing Better. I think I shouldn't commit to this now because I haven't really thought it through. I might get rid of that. You can just follow me at Eve Elbow. So if you like me, just like me for who I am. And thanks so much for doing this, Pete.
That's all right. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. I haven't really. I can only release one podcast a month because the rest of it's just dedicated to making the guests think that they've gotten a lot from it. But that sounds actually like something I should spend my time on. Anyway. Okay, I'm gonna focus. Thank you for listening. You can follow me at Eve Elbow on Instagram, also on TikTok. I have gone viral once, not quite like Peter Jones, but it's a lot of Jew stuff on there. Some dick content, which is rare on TikTok, so get in there. And I was going to follow the podcast on Everyone's Doing Better. I think I shouldn't commit to this now because I haven't really thought it through. I might get rid of that. You can just follow me at Eve Elbow. So if you like me, just like me for who I am. And thanks so much for doing this, Pete.
That's all right. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.